Hello, everyone, and welcome to Magical Moments podcast. I am here with Jamie Drew of theblisscode.net. So,
Hello.
this podcast is about finding flow, and I feel from Jamie's energy that she is in a state of flow, even if she doesn't agree. I feel she's very present and peaceful, and I wanted to get her take on how she finds flow in her life. And then later on, we will bring some people up, some watchers, if they come in, and we can ask them questions about finding flow in their life. So before we begin, Jamie was already on one of my other podcast episodes. However, I will let her reintroduce herself. Go ahead, Jamie.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jamie Drew, and I'm the founder of The Bliss Code and the host of the Bliss Code podcast. And of course, you can check me out at theblisscode.net. Karla and I belong to a couple of Facebook groups together, and we connected over our shared love of journaling. And here we are growing and connecting together and hopefully changing some people's lives together.
Yes, that's what it's all about. Changing some lives, giving some information. And I
Mhm.
think one of the key parts of living a stress free life is to be in a state of flow. And many people may not know what a state of flow is. So, spiritually speaking, it's about being present, being connected to your higher self, being connected to ooh, whoever you believe in. I just hit my bracelet. Um, it's about just really being present and connected with your body, mind, and soul. Not spiritually speaking, it's about being focused on a particular task, being present and focused and kind of just ready to tackle the task that you're doing without being sidetracked by, outside um, things, outside, what's the word I'm looking for? Distractions. So, not being distracted by what's going on with family, friends, whatever have you, and just focusing on your key goal. Um, but really, I want to kind of focus on the spiritual, the mind, the body, the soul, and how we can use it in our life, regardless of, what you believe in or not. If you're atheist, that's fine. Really connecting your body, mind, and soul together, and how can we get there? How can we achieve a state of flow, especially as busy adults who may have, things going on. We're always concerned about the future, what's to come. How can I pay this bill? How can I fix my car? How can I get my kid to school in 2 weeks? How can whatever? We're always focused on the next thing instead of being present in the moment. So I'll stop there and I'll let Jamie explain what her definition of flow is. Because I also realize that, going through and speaking with different people, their definition of flow is different from mine, which is totally fine. So,
Yeah.
Jamie, what is your definition of flow?
Well, I agree with you that it has a lot to do with being in the present moment and not focusing on what's to come, especially things that you can't control. And when I think about being in flow, I just imagine like a body of water, just going a certain way. And then I imagine myself inside of that body of water, letting the water carry me,
Yeah.
allowing things to go in that direction. And instead of fighting against the current and like basically going the wrong way, uh, going with the current of the water. And, even when you go with the current of the water, there's still things along the way that you can grab onto, like there's little leaves and branches that are gonna, oh, it's right there. Oh, it's floating in the water with me. Oh, it floated right to me. So I just imagine this little stream that I'm just floating with, and stuff is floating with me. And it's just kind of there for me to grab. And I don't know, that thought, I'm glad you asked me that because just that thought alone makes me feel really, really good.
Yes, I'm so glad. And
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. It is about being present and going with the flow of the stream. And that doesn't mean that, you're not going to come across any challenges. Being in flow doesn't mean that, life is peachy and everything is going your way and, there are no bumps in the road. Being in flow means that when there are challenges, you do not react in a way that's stressful to your body. So you don't get anxiety, you don't get nervousness, you don't start to worry because you know that everything is going to be fine. You're like, okay, here's this challenge. Instead of worrying and like, oh my God, your first thought is, well, how can I overcome this challenge? Let's look at it. What are my solutions? We're going to get through this. Everything is going to be fine. And I know that sounds like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? Because we're human, right? We have emotions. And sometimes our immediate reaction to a thing that we do not expect is, what the hell? Like, what am I going to do? Instead of, taking a breath and breathing. So, Jamie, when you come across a challenge, how do you handle
I really feel like the best thing when coming across a challenge, or me personally, when I come across a challenge, is to think back about previous challenges that I've overcome, because I take myself back to that moment and how I felt and how I may have thought it was the end of the world or it was the most detrimental thing, and it really wasn't. Or I look back and I'm like, man, I'm glad that that happened. And I allow myself to be reminded that this is just like that, and that I'll be looking back on this one too. You know what I mean?
it?
So
Yeah.
sometimes the worst part about overcoming obstacles is like the embarrassment or the shame that you find from not getting it right.
Yeah.
And if somehow you can just get over caring about what other people think about it, because that's really what it is. It's really, when you're faced with an obstacle and it brings you anxiety, it's all that mental stress that you get. You're really worried about what other people are going to think about it. Either that, or you're taking it to an extreme that you're going to be completely without anything. You're going to be completely in lack somehow. It's usually one of those two thoughts. We don't like embarrassment very well, and we don't like being hungry and homeless or dying very well. And that's usually the leap that we take, whether it's going to be that leap or not, whether we need to take that leap or not. We usually are far from that leap, but just reminding yourself of other obstacles that you have overcome is really helpful, when it comes to getting over this new hurdle. And just knowing that it's just a part of the path to life, and nobody has anything perfect. And actually, sometimes people that do have things that are quote unquote perfect are bored to tears and need a little challenge.
That's true. And that is a perfect point that you brought up because a lot of what I guess threatens our state of flow is our sense of security. It's
Right.
not really the challenge itself, it's
Mm,
what's going to happen if this challenge, goes all the way left and worst case scenario. And that's usually where our mind goes to is worst case scenario instead of,
right.
best case scenario. Is like, how can I pivot? No. So
Mhm.
when we're thinking about our security, it's like, oh my gosh, like you said, I'm going to end up homeless and hungry. Not, how can I pivot?
It's
You
so
know,
funny because I usually tell people like, okay, let's play out this worst case scenario. And then once you go all the way to the worst case scenario, you're like, you know what? That's not gonna happen,
exactly.
and then you're okay.
Exactly. And now you have anxiety in your body for absolutely no reason because you're worried about something that's more than likely not going to happen. Of
Making it
course,
worse.
I'm not discounting that people have very real problems. There are people who are struggling for their next meal, and there are people who, don't know where they're going to live and things like that. Obviously, that's a very real problem, and that will upset your flow, and rightfully so, because if you don't know where you're going to live or you don't know where your next meal is coming from, then that's a very real concern that you should address. Um, but in the state of most people, going to that worst case scenario, maybe they lost $50 or they lost their wallet, and now they're like, well, I don't have groceries forever, and I'm going to end up homeless and destitute just because they lost their wallet, instead of saying, you know what, let me just go turn off my card, run to the bank and get a new one, withdraw some money to get me by until it comes in the mail or whatever. um, they always go to worst case scenario.
I used to work with, for years, I worked with people who were homeless and were wondering where their next meal was coming from, or where they were going to sleep that night, or whatever the case was. And I found some commonalities, and it's really hard to believe, but I feel like a lot of people do this, is that you have more options than you are allowing your brain to realize that you have. And some of the people that are in those scenarios are rejecting the things that are coming to them in the flow, right? So you can be offered a place to sleep or be offered a meal, but you don't, oh, I don't want that one, or I don't want it that way, or I don't want it from that person. So you're getting yourself out of flow when you start to reject the very things that you have asked the universe for. So it's like, well, I'm hungry, and someone's like, oh, well, I've got this half a salad you can have. I'm not going to eat anymore. And you're like, well, no, I don't want no salad. Or, or,
Yeah, yeah,
you need a place to stay, and somebody offers you their couch, and they're like, but I don't want to impose, so rejecting the gifts is going to get you out of flow every single time. So you have to start to look at, the ways that you're rejecting. It's really not your job to decide how you're going to get something, the way it's going to be received. You asked for it, and now take it, and you will get more, and it will develop more and more the way that you do like it, if you stop turning away from basically what you've asked for.
exactly. And I find that a lot of people, not everyone, of course, but a lot of people, when they reject the things that that's going to help them get back into that flow state, when they reject the gifts that are being offered to them, it's because they are addicted to the struggle. When you're used to
Mm,
being in a state of anxiety and worry, and your body doesn't know anything else, that becomes comfortable for you. Even though you're, in essence, maybe suffering, it's still comfortable because that's what your body knows.
I
So to
agree.
then go to a state of ease and flow is uncomfortable. Even though it's going to be the best thing for you, it's going to be uncomfortable. And it's like, you're then, once you get to that place, you're then wondering when the next shoe is going to drop, instead of just enjoying
Yes,
being in the moment.
I 100% agree with that. Your body actually searches for whatever is similar,
Hmm.
and it may feel uncomfortable, by definition be uncomfortable, but that is where your body and mind finds comfort. Your mind finds comfort in the same, no matter what that may be.
Yeah,
So I agree. Yeah.
exactly. So, how do you get into a state of flow? And I know journaling is one of, our big
Yeah.
things. Just recently, I was feeling a sense of frustration and anxiety over something, and I journaled it out. And I actually reached out to you because even journaling, sometimes it doesn't get the job done because we are
Hmm.
so caught in our emotions. Even, me, and I like to think I'm well versed in this. I don't like to call myself an expert, but I think I'm well versed in this, and I've been doing this for a while. And even my emotions tend to cloud my thinking. But because I've so well versed in this, I knew that, there's just something else that I'm missing. And so I did reach out to Jamie. I was like, hey, give me a prompt that will help me dig a little bit deeper to figure out why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling, because my emotions just clouded it. And what I was writing was just full of nothing but frustration. And I know that there was just something under that. So
Mhm.
besides, our shared love of journaling, what are some other techniques that you use to get into flow?
You know what? I learned this from my mother. Thank you, mommy. I just stop everything. I just stop everything that I'm doing comes to a screeching halt. And I go and I get happy. Like
Yeah.
no working, no thinking, like no figuring, no trying to figure it out. Like when you have this problem, stop trying to figure it out. Just stop. Just press pause on everything and go do something that gives you delight, gives you peace. Take a nap, go get something to eat, go for a drive. Once you do those things like that and just relax your nervous system and get rid of all of the mental stuff, I say get out of the mind and get into the body, then things start to come in. And they're going to come in all along anyway, because you're still mentally trying to figure out whatever your problem is. But don't allow yourself to accept any of those answers that come in until you get to that place where your body feels good and you feel relaxed and you're no longer hungry, you're no longer thirsty. Like, check in with yourself somatically, like, what is going on with me? You know what? My tongue is a little dry. I'm feeling a little thirsty. Let me get something to drink. Once you check in with all of those things, then you can move forward from that space. So those are the things that I like to do. Eat, drink, sleep, all of those like base level um root chakra like
Yes.
survival type of things, like, hey, if I don't do this, I'm gonna die. Get rid of all of that and just and then only then after that can you move forward. So
Yes.
that even like going and hanging out with somebody that you love, or having a conversation, or going getting a hug, laughing about something, like all of those, you can even think of it as like, what would a child need? What However you would treat yourself if you were an angry toddler, you would be like, okay, are you clean? Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? Do you need a hug? Do you want me to play with you and bounce you up and down? All of those things that you would check in with a little child, that's what you need to do for yourself.
I mean, yes, that was going to be my exact same answer. Basically, check
Yay.
in with your inner child, see
Mhm,
what what exactly is causing you the anxiety besides the challenge, right?
mhm,
What is that base level thing that's causing you to feel or take yourself out of flow? And just check in with your body and your emotions, and then go from there. Maybe you are hungry, maybe you're hangry. Get
mhm.
something to eat first before you make decisions.
Yes.
Go for a walk, meditate, like we said, journal, do something else, draw, dance, twerk a little, do
Yes. Yes,
something,
girl. Yes.
do something. And listen, we are grown. Sex is a good, release.
I thought about that, but I was like, don't say it. Don't say it.
Say it, say it. Sex is a good. Listen, if you now, of course, don't go overboard. It's not the end all be all, because some people
But if
like
you
to
already
try
got
it. But
somebody,
if you already
go
got
on and do it.
somebody, listen, sweat it out any way you know how. Okay?
That's right. That's right.
Because when we sweat or cry or whatever, we are releasing. We're releasing the anxiety, the stress, the worry
Mhm.
from our body. It needs to leave our body in some way. And
Yes.
some people cry, and that's perfectly fine, but sweating is also a good way. So go for that walk, have sex, do something that will bring you back into your body and out of your mind.
Yes. Into the body, out of the mind.
Yes.
Love it.
Well, I think that is all. I don't want to overwhelm people. I want people to find their flow. So before we go, we're just going to take a couple of deep breaths, relax, get into our body. So in through the nose, out through the mouth. Release any tension within the body. Do a quick body scan from head to toe and just release. One more deep breath in and out with a sigh. And that is all. Be in flow.
Be
And as
in
always,
flow, baby.
yes, start with gratitude. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Just be grateful for what you do have. Always
Yes.
be in a gratitude state. That will help you get into flow. But anyways, start with gratitude, end with love, and find your magical moment. And I'll see you next time.